next up, the question that we got was like, Joe, what's the best agency cold outreach strategy? Right? Give it to me, give it to me blank. Give it to me, without the BS, right? Tell me what it is. And for me, guys, at the end of the day, really where this question was headed is like, what's the model that's best? Is it like LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Is it cold email? Like, what's the method, so to speak? What's the medium, I guess, is really the better question. And folks, what I would suggest, like this person is trying to hit a grand slam right out of the gate and not have to go through a learning curve. Understand that that's not going to happen. Like, you're going to have to iterate, right? You're going to have to play with your messaging. Okay, and the medium in terms of where you're doing it, again, whether it's cold email, whether it's Facebook, whether it's a LinkedIn, whether it's something completely different, right? If I were you, I wouldn't focus on the medium. Okay, instead, I would focus on the messaging. Okay, I would focus on the messaging. Okay, once we get the messaging down, we have a market that has a problem. We know how to solve the problem, right? And we know how to demonstrate that via messaging to a customer or to a prospect and close them. Medium is going to work as long as the person's there, as long as that person is active, right? The person that you're trying to sell, whether it's a marketing director or whether it's the business owner, right? As long as that person resides in email, whether that person resides in LinkedIn, whether that person actually goes on Facebook, right, is really the only question at that stage, right? Like, can I get their attention on this platform? Does that make sense? Like, if you try to go prospect on LinkedIn and I tell you LinkedIn and you don't nail your messaging, right? You just start with the medium instead. You could go after a niche, right? That quite literally isn't on LinkedIn and you're just wasting your damn time. Like, instead, let's focus on the messaging. Okay? Because if you nail your messaging, like, this is the key to scale, right? Like, the key to scale is having an offer that really, really works and that what to say, how to say it. You can speak the language, you can speak that person's like niche's language, right? Is it an appointment? Is it a doctor? Is it a patient? Like, what do they call things? What are prospects worth to them? How long is their lead time? Like, you got to get down that lingo so you can have an educated conversation with a prospect without being green, without being a newbie cannon, right? So if I were you, I wouldn't focus again on the medium in terms of where am I doing it. Instead, I would focus on the messaging. Okay, so don't focus on the medium. Okay, instead focus on the messaging. Next, I would pick one niche so that you can get really, really, really hyper focused on the messaging, right? Because how do you prove your messaging if you're changing up the niche from time to time to time? That would mean like the offer is going to change, the words are going to change. You're going to have to be thinking on your feet about, is this a dentist? Is this a home services client? Is this a roofing client? Like, what's the average customer? What's this? What's that? Like, instead of just being able to listen to the freaking prospect. Okay, so next, I think definitely pick one niche, right? And then, like, folks, this is it. This is all that you have to do, right, in the next 30 days. And you could build in the next 30 days, you could build your MVP, your minimum viable product, and you could collect 6 figures in annual contracts, no problem, just focusing on this and throwing the rest of the shit out the fucking window. Like, don't build a website, don't do this, don't do that, don't do everything else. Like, this is the MVP. If you do nothing else in the next month, do this. This is what's going to get you the furthest. Okay? There's one final step that I would use when you start reaching out to prospects cold. okay? And if you have like a warm traffic source, like 10 dentists, and that's the niche that you want to go after, like we'll hit all 10 of them up, right? And focus on them first, right? And just focus on the messaging and win that before you go on further, right? But once you exhaust those warm resources and you gotta go cold, right? Like when you're leading or when you're prospecting, hold. The last kind of fourth trick, the last kind of big thing is to lead with value, right? Like make them an offer that they can't refuse. And I'm not saying like pitch them in an email on your first acquaintance. Like that's too much. Like you're trying to take your first date to bed when you just met them at the bar and you didn't even buy them a drink, right? Like it just doesn't. That's not how things work. So make them an offer, right? Find your perfect prospect, and then find something that's wrong, right? Find an issue, find an opportunity, and offer to solve it for free. Like, hey, ABC Dentist, Dr. Mike, I saw that there's a big problem with your website. Your web form isn't working. Like, quite literally, I went to fill it out, right, to request to be a patient, and it's not working. Can we jump on a quick 15-minute call and I'll fix it? Right? Like, who's going to tell you no? Right? Then, while you're fixing it, you get the idea or you get the opportunity to start focusing on your messaging and start asking questions. Hey, Dr. Mike, like, what are the problems that you're having in your business right now? Right? Like, what marketing's working? Like, and just use that as an opportunity to pick their brain. Even if you don't have an offer yet, don't worry about that. Just get on the phone and freaking learn. Like, be a sponge, right? And if you don't have an offer to go right away, that's fine. Just be like, all right, Dr. Mike, is there anything that I could help you with right now after you get done solving the first problem? Are there any other issues you could think of that maybe I could help you with? Like, just ask for the business. Use it as a chance to get closer and to learn the niche, okay? Become a student, right? Become a student. So this is the 4-step strategy if I were you to really work on developing an offer and to develop the messaging for that offer and to tie that to a niche, okay? And then ultimately, when you start prospecting, you're gonna have to go out cold and you're not gonna be an expert in the niche yet. And when you do that, I think personally the best way when you're in that scenario and you're prospecting cold is to lead with value.